there. Good morning, everyone. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Philippa Leggat, the Managing Director of Critica Limited with ASX ticker code CRI, Charlie Romeo India. Appointed in mid-2024, Philippa brings a wealth of experience, having previously served as CEO of Comet Resources Limited and held directorships at Venture Minerals Limited and the Australia Africa Mining Industry Group. Under her leadership, Critica has made significant strides in critical minerals sector, most notably with the Jupiter project discovered in late 2023. This high-grade clay-hosted rare earth deposit is now Australia's largest of its kind, positioning Critica as a key player in the industry. Welcome, Philippa. How are you?
Hi, Jo. Good to be here. I'm great, thanks.
Excellent. Well, look, today we have actually quite a lot to cover, so let's dive right in.
Absolutely.
Well, first and foremost, look, Jupiter is described as Australia's largest and highest grade clay-hosted rare earth resource. Can you tell me more about this discovery regarding its size and grade?
Absolutely. Look, it's ours. It's brand new, clean and shiny. And if you haven't heard about it, that's really not surprising. We made the discovery, our team internally used publicly available data to identify the target, cross-correlated that information with additional data and took a punt on drilling. And we had some wonderful results. We've released record after record of high-grade intersections that just had us standing head and shoulders above the rest. And in a period of 18 months, we have now delivered 40 kilometers of drilling all the way through to a maiden resource that stands us, head and shoulders above the Australian peers and in league with the best of the Brazilians. So it's a lovely, lovely position to be arriving at with a, hey, if you missed this, maybe you should pay attention now.
Well, look, we are paying attention. I mean, look, the maiden resource estimate confirmed a global resource of 1.8 billion tonnes at 1,700 ppm total rare earth oxides, including high-grade 500 million tonnes at 2,200 ppm, TREO at 1,800 ppm cutoff grade. Look, to give viewers some context, how do these grades actually compare to your typical rare earth grades seen in other exploration projects?
Yeah. Well, look, we don't like to talk about the neighbors too much, so I'll give you in relation to the biggest Chinese deposits, right? Which
Sure.
is what drives rare earths pricing and the biggest projects in the world, largely by Anobo, which is the clay-hosted project in China. And the average grade of those projects in South China is about 800 ppm, considering that the lower cut on our global resource is well above that at 1,000. And the grade on our higher cut, or our higher grade resource is 2,200 ppm. So, three times plus that is kind of where we're playing. And yeah, so it's a phenomenal grade, relatively speaking.
Excellent. So that gives a context. So China's around 800 and yours on the higher end is 2,200. Brilliant. Look, the presentation that we're going through here really highlights 5 satellite discoveries at Jupiter. I mean, how do these discoveries enhance the overall resource potential?
Yeah. So I suppose we really don't need tons, right? We've got an
Yep.
enormous project. It is much more about quality over quantity at this stage. Now, we do have very good high grade, and that 500 million tons of the high grade component for a 5 million ton per annum plant could equate to ballpark 100-year mine life, right? So why would you want to improve that? It's about the quality of the basket price. So where could that be? Higher grades, possibly, and also what's included within that basket. So the magnet rare earth ratio at Jupiter is about 23%, which is within the average of clay-hosted projects that run between 21 and 24%. Now, we have seen with one of those discoveries in the southeast, a 34% ratio of those highly valuable magnet rare earths. So that's interesting to us. And we've made those 5 discoveries for just $100,000 worth of drilling costs. So because our exploration costs are so very low, there is enormous value in us having a look around and making sure that we start with the very, very best mineralization that can yield the best basket price, that has the best metallurgical properties, etc. So it's about upside.
Now, look, for some of our viewers out there who may not be aware, I've done some research into this. Like, rare earths plays a part in the energy transition, and how. I guess my question here is like, how is demand going to affect Jupiter and obviously the rare earths industry?
Well, it's a very interesting space because it's been controlled by China for so long, and it's the entire supply chain, really, right? So it is in flux, and it is the strategic imperatives that are driving those changes. So people want to secure supply ex-China for strategic reasons, largely to do with the development of defensive technology. So the primary use of rare earths that people are most familiar with is permanent magnets. Now, there are permanent magnets in everything that has a motor. So it's not just electric vehicles or the electrification process, but your standard combustion engines. And then they're in your phone and your computer. And every single thing that has a motor has got permanent magnets in it. And as far as we're aware, there aren't substitutes for these products.
Mm.
So people are looking for strategic supply, particularly on the defensive technologies. And that's things like drones. The batteries in drones that are lighter and last longer are fully dependent on these minerals. So that's really where the drive is coming from, securing supply globally. And we are well positioned without hedging ourselves into any corner at this stage. We're all about optionality. So at the moment, we're looking at the best positioning for the project, and we have time to do that.
Excellent. Which segues me into we're talking about, the strategic location. Like with existing infrastructure and proximity to the Geraldton port, how does Jupiter's location really provide you with a competitive edge for development and logistics?
Good question. And it's all about commercialization potential.
Yep.
So as much as these things are chemistry sets, you've still
Hmm.
got to move the dirt around, and that costs a
Correct.
fortune. So if you're on a tar road like we are, bitumen high grade directly to a port, we
Mm.
have a gas pipeline to the front door. There's electric power lines running within close proximity, 40 k's of site. Those things that we don't have to fund, that won't be part of our capital costs because they're right there already.
Mm.
Phenomenal. In addition to which, we've got 2 Crown pastoral leases. So we
Yes.
only have to do with 2 station owners.
Hmm.
We have got very low heritage risk. All of that's been assessed and come up
Hmm.
beautifully. Nothing's been found on site. And it's flat, dry land that we have easy access to all year round. So in terms of hurdles, we really aren't seeing any in terms of that commercialization potential, which is full steam ahead when you come to licensing approvals. And it's an existing mining hub, right?
Yeah.
So all those suppliers are there. We're close to labor centers for future work populations, etc. So yeah, we've just got a lot of ticks in the right boxes for commercialization potential.
And without naming names, I'm aware that there is a significant mining company located in the Pilbara region that is due for a $230 million repair bill on their roads. So are you telling me that basically the roads infrastructure is already existing in that region?
It is. It is. So yes, we aren't seeing any of that. It's a well-used road that's in very good condition. So very pleased about that.
Okay, well, it weighs heavily on the capital costs, right? If you're going to be paying
It
that much
does.
money to move the dirt around.
It
Um,
does.
So now let's move on to the metallurgical breakthrough. I mean, look, initial metallurgy results show 830% upgrade and 95% mass reduction. I mean, what do these results mean for the project's economic feasibility?
Yeah, we haven't got into the economics, but indicatively, what it can tell you is that we have managed to upgrade the grade by almost 10 times. That's
Yep.
extraordinary, right? And we've
Yes.
done it on a very representative basis. The other part of that is that we have reduced the gangue, the waste material, by
Mm.
95%, which means that much higher value product, because it's got 10 times the grade, is sitting in a much smaller volume. That
Mm.
means your capital cost is much smaller. You don't
Mhm.
need a 100 million ton plant, you need a 5 million ton plant to process that. Much, much smaller capital costs. And at operational costs, looking at things like expensive reagents that get gobbled up quite quickly on gang because they're just terrible waste. If we've removed that gang, it means we can focus our op costs on the areas where we can actually deliver some value because that's where the product is. So hugely valuable to us. And this is just first past work. So we've got 5 labs working. I do have an amazing metallurgist on our team. She's Vietnamese, and that pilot work that was done for us was actually done in Vietnam, where they
Mm,
have a huge amount of rare earth processing technology out of China, as
yeah.
opposed to Western Australia, where we've been, lacking in that sort of thing. So having teams of people with access to different tech being brought into it is part of our strategy to build the internal IP. It's what's helped Linus become so successful. They are very protective of their internal intellectual property, and
Mhm.
we're seeing the value in doing the same thing.
And tell me more, because I understand that I've done my research on rare earths, that there's 17 different commodities that you actually have to separate out, and that level of complexity, you really need to bring that knowledge in-house.
That's exactly right. And look, most of that separation won't be done by the mining company itself. We'll take it to a stage. We'll
Mhm.
produce a product or various products, and those will be shipped to separation facilities, because the complexity of having 17 rare earths is certainly more challenging than just gold or silver or copper. So yeah, it's a fun space to be playing if you're up for a challenge.
And in that
Yeah.
case, with increasing global demand, and even more so, I've come to realize that mining is also it's geopolitical as well, right? So I'm curious now, like, how are you positioning yourself in this market alongside with like supply chain diversification and also the global demand and the appetite for rare earths?
Yeah. Look, very, very good point. And it's a constantly changing world. I mean, the where we're sitting at the moment with Trump throwing tariffs out and negotiating that peace deal or not with Ukraine, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and people really don't know what's happening. What I think is worth considering is the strategic imperative and who's getting into the rare earth space, and ask long term, why are they doing this?
Hmm.
We've had in Australia, we've had Gina and Hancock is in 5 or 6 rare earth companies. Andrew Forrest is in Hastings, right? In quite a big way. Westfarm has tried to take over Linus in the last couple of years. That wasn't successful, and they are now exploring on their own tenements. They've pegged tenements and are looking for rare earths here. Sumitomo just did an MOU for offtake with one of our neighbors. And then Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates are now investing in a rare earths company in Africa. So, if all these people with this long-term strategic thinking and the ability for longer term horizons are getting into rare earths, you have to ask yourself, why is that, right? So I would say that if we are in a position to, or if you want to be in a position to take advantage of that, being where we are located in Australia, which is a tier 1 mining jurisdiction, with all the infrastructure that we've discussed, with that
Hmm.
commercial potential, right next to a port. And there are a couple of processing facilities. Linus built their plant in Kalgoorlie to take additional feedstock. Iniaba down the road, that's Iluka's plant that the government have provided them funding to go ahead with, or the optionality of create a concentrated product which we can ship out of the port. For us, it's all about optionality. We're not at the point where we have to commit. So right now, it's play the field, make sure that we can see the best opportunities to add value for our shareholders.
And certainly being now the largest and also the highest grade provides you with the box seat, right?
That's exactly right. And I think what comes out of that is, because these are such complex chemistry sets, where the rare earths are feeding from the next stage, the more consistently you can supply a product into those chemistry sets, the feedstock you can give them, the happier
Mhm.
they are. Big, high grade, well supplied. We're in a good position on that basis.
Excellent. And now, look, Critica Minerals has a leadership team with expertise. You've already mentioned it previously with your people in mining, metallurgy, corporate finance. How does this collective experience enhance your execution capabilities?
Yeah. Well, remember, we are trying to build an IP base, the intellectual property. So having a team who can follow real scientific rigor means that you're building a basis, a strong foundation to leverage from. Too many times I've seen companies rush through these early steps because they don't want to dilute shareholders, which is a great intent. But if you don't do the work well enough here, what happens is you get to financing and it has to be redone and you've blown up a lot of capital. So for us, given that this is a tier one asset, a sound basis that is substantive to build from is critical. So the strength of the team, our several PhDs with our exploration manager, who's a geologist, our geometallurgist, who's helped us classify the rare earth deportment accurately, as well as the gangue minerals, and then our metallurgist. You know, we're building that strength internally so that we've got the best capability to take us forwards.
And what a better place, right, to actually have access to all of that human capital within Australia.
Absolutely.
Look, Critica, I know, is very well funded for further metallurgical test work and drilling. What are the key milestones for the project?
Yeah, at the moment, the focus, given we've just released our maiden resource, in order for us to advance and head into studies, we'd have to increase the certainty, the JORC compliance, around the JORC compliance. That means a little bit more drilling, which is campaign drilling, and more metallurgical test work, which is what we all know is going to be the basis of success of these projects, is the metallurgy. So we've got 5 labs working on that around the world. That's our primary focus. In addition to which, all those exploration discoveries that we've made, it's having a look at those and seeing where we can increase the value, the upside, the best potential, and putting those all in together to deliver a resource upgrade will be the next focus for us. Simultaneous to that, we're actually making a point of marketing the project to a broader perspective. That's the Australian government, Geoscience WA, as well as the Geoscience Australia, and making sure that we have the government support, because that is exactly what you want to see for these big projects. They're as excited about it as we are. So I'm looking forward to advancing that as we move forwards.
And I mean, talking about quickly, like fiscal discipline, you have a very strong corporate finance background, is that right?
Yes, definitely from a corporate background. I did study gemology, so some rocks in there, but it's the corporate finance that I work with. And yes, I think what we do is all about adding value to shareholders. So it's about making sure you leverage the assets you have to deliver the best value. And that's very much a focus for me.
And I looked at your balance sheet briefly, and please tell me if I am incorrect, but you have 5 million in the bank at the moment.
Yeah, it was 5.8 at the end of the last quarter, which is always good to know. And we've finished the majority of the drilling, right? So our drilling is cheap and we do campaign drilling, but we're in a very strong position, particularly with regard to what's happening in capital markets at the moment, to have the capital to keep advancing to deliver on our objectives.
Excellent. And well, that's promising to know. Like I said, cash is king, right? All business owners know cash is king.
It is.
Oh, I apologize.
You'll be fine till then.
Awesome. So thank you, Philippa. I know, yeah, like I said, financial discipline and cash in bank is also one of the key elements that our members look for as well. Look, my final question here for you is, look, as managing director, what excites you the most about Jupiter's potential and Critica Minerals in the role of the rare earth sector?
Oh, it's a lovely question. You don't often get a chance to have one of the best global projects.
Yeah.
It's one of the best in the world. And for a little company to have found this ourselves and have the ability to build this wonderful team with all our intellectual property and deliver this to market is an extraordinary opportunity. We are incredibly well positioned with our enormous scale, our phenomenal grade, the strides we've made in metallurgy, and our strategic location to deliver this commercial opportunity. And yeah, it's just a privilege to be working with the people I am and having fun doing that. So we will ride out this market and we will keep adding intrinsic value so that people see the upside on the other side of this. It will end, it will change.
And so we're only in obviously we're still in the first quarter of the year. So what
Yeah.
sort of news flow can we expect from Critica leading over the next 2 quarters?
Yeah. Well, lots, right? I mean, we've got
Mhm,
metallurgical programs. We're going to have
mhm,
some drilling running, and then
mhm.
we'll start heading into those stages around uplifting the resource. So, and we might have a couple of other tricks up our sleeve, but you'll have to wait and see about those.
Well, look, thank you so much for sharing Critica's story and your story with us. Final thing is, so if any of our investors or our members have any questions, I'll get them to email us info@eastcoastresearch.com.au or info@sharesinvalue.com.au, and we'll forward them on to you and your team, Philippa, and you'll respond to them.
Absolutely. We also have an interactive website. We've got an investor hub on our website, so people can leave questions directly for me there as well. So happy to go to the Critica Limited website.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, not Critica. Thank you so much, Philippa. I'll be seeing you hopefully in the coming months.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.